We'll go ahead and start. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar panel discussion on the state of IBM in 2026. I'll be your moderator today. My name is Thad Gerdado. I am a senior product manager at LightEdge. Josh, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hey guys, my name is Josh Patterson. I'm a solutions architect at LightEdge, and my focus over the last 20 years, 20 plus years, has been on the IBM I and our IBM I Cloud offering that we have here at LightEdge. So happy to have this discussion today with these great guys and see what you guys can learn and feel free to ask questions. Let's have dialogue during this open conversation. Chip, over to you.
Yeah, Chip Wagner. I am the technology rep covering MSPs like LightEdge. I've been, my first interaction with a AS400 was 20, 30 years ago. Spent a lot of time in cybersecurity, now working with MSPs like LightEdge. I really focus on things like risk analysis, business continuity, and those types of business challenges.
Burgess, go ahead.
Yeah. So I'm Burgess Patel here. I'm the IT architect for IBM Power Systems at LightEdge. My experience with IBM Power Systems is about 25 plus years, where I worked with IBM I, IBM AIX, and Linux on Power. My main thing is I've been with the IBM Power Cloud Emerging Technologies, so mostly with the hybrid cloud, Red Hat OpenShift, and AI technologies on IBM Power. Thank you.
I guess to start off, we know that IBM has gone through some significant identity shifts over the last several years. There's may have been a perception of IBM in the past of being, slow to modernize, complex, or maybe just being a hardware provider. Josh, we'll start with you. What have you seen in the market? What are you seeing with our customers today, and how is that changing?
Yeah, good question, Thad. So I would say how I've seen IBM change over the last 10, 15, 20 years is historically we dealt with IBM on a hardware basis. They were making the mainframe, they were making power systems, they were x86 storage, right? And they were pretty much a hardware company. And since then, they've spun off the x86 business. They don't do that anymore. So they're pretty much focused on power, mainframe, and storage. And what they have changed is they've acquired Red Hat. They've got lots of software management functions underneath it, some orchestration, some telemetry, right? All of these applications that they now have that they're enabling customers to use, where it used to be more just hardware based, and now they're making enablements for customers to take advantage of lots of stuff. So they've got Red Hat, now they have Ansible and OpenStack and Terraform. All of that stuff comes into play, which makes IBM pretty powerful. The other thing that they've done in the last few years is they have had a cloud, hyperscaler cloud, right? So they have an x86 hyperscaler and they have PowerVS, which is the IBM I, AIX Power Linux hyperscaler cloud, which has been for about 7 years or so. And that's been a big change. And more customers that are on-prem today are going to some sort of cloud, right? So over the last change, that's the main change I've seen, Thad.
Chip,
Yeah.
from the IBM side,
Yeah,
how
no,
would you
great.
characterize this?
Absolutely, Thad. I joined IBM about 15 years ago. I joined in cybersecurity. I ended up leading our cybersecurity division for security and information and event management globally. So I led that for a while. And, I've seen a tremendous change at IBM over those last several years. Specifically, the last 5 years, IBM has brought more technology to market than they had in the previous 15 years combined. And as Josh said, those are things like observability, those are things like automation, Red Hat, and also Power VS. One of the great things about what LightEdge is doing is really leaning into all these automation capabilities that allows them to deploy fast, it allows them to deploy securely. And, really, it's been incredible as a person working at IBM to see the transformation that has happened just in the last 5 years. Really, our company is on a better track than I've ever seen. I just read an article today by Virtual Capitalist. IBM was ranked number 2 as the most reliable companies, right? We beat out Microsoft, Amazon, a lot of them in that report. So there's a lot of changes. And Thad, the statement that you made initially, 15, 20 years ago, 100%, that was absolutely right. It is a new day. A new day has dawned at IBM.
Perfect. Burgess, with your experience inside of lab services, kind of speak or help us understand what IBM has been doing from an agile go-to-market within their platforms.
Yeah. So thanks, Ted. That's a great question. So just to add, is I've been with IBM for a long time. So primarily earlier in the 1990s or 2000, we used to sell hardware. So it's no longer a hardware company, but it's a hybrid cloud and AI platform company that manufactures even hardware. And keeping up to the market, the hardware platform has also integrated a lot of AI capabilities and cloud-ready components. So talking about the lab services, I've been working with lab services for more than 10 years, I would say now. We, as lab services, bring to the market the emerging technologies. What's there comes from the development. So we are basically like a glue between the development in IBM and post-sales services, where we initiate with the customer like a cloud design workshop, where we understand how we need to take the customer to their cloud journey. So that helps us to basically make customer aware of our products, plus help us to make his workload run efficiently on all the IBM platforms.
Perfect. Now that IBM is really leaning into their hybrid cloud journey, what are we seeing? What are they offering? What does the customer now get? What are the tools? What are the benefits that IBM has from a technology and architecture, Josh, that you think that is really benefiting our customers and other customers out there?
So for PowerVS specifically, Thad, they've got people that are on-prem today are doing things one way because they're forced to do that because they're on-prem, right? And they might not have the hardware available, or they'd have to go make a huge capital expense to do something that they want to do. When you can get into PowerVS, like you might be able to do DR easier, or you might have different ways to do backups, or you can clone a system, which you can't clone today on-prem because you're on internal disk. So you can clone it and spin it up for a test environment, or consumption-based billing, where you don't have to buy the entitlements and pay the hardware and software maintenance anymore. It comes with the monthly spin that you're having in the cloud. All of that is available in PowerVS. And then there's also the side where the LightEdge cloud can do similar activity, and it might be a better fit, right? So it's all about really finding the best fit for each individual workload and doing what makes sense for the business and what the best design is, and it fits the requirements that you're trying to accomplish, right? But the cloud offers lots of bells and whistles, backups, HADR, that you can take advantage of that are maybe more cost effective than if you had to go do that in your own data center, right? So when you come to IBM Cloud, you're going to get CPU, memory, disk, and infrastructure, but you're still going to have to manage it. So that's where an MSP comes into play, like LightEdge, where we would do the infrastructure side of it, we would do the networking, the backups, the HA, and the customer can focus on their application, right? So we do everything below the application to keep it running in the PowerVS in the cloud, and then they can take advantage of the cloud aspect. And then on top of that, they can take advantage of microservices that are in the cloud. So some AI or BI or data lakes and reporting, a lot of that can be taken advantage of in the cloud once you're there. That may not be available, or it's available, but it's a lot harder to do from on-prem.
That's interesting. Chip, with your security background, we have customers that, understand their on-prem workloads very well and have designed their environments to meet those needs. When we start thinking about putting workloads in the cloud, what are those security considerations? And really, what is IBM doing to address some of those concerns?
No, great question, Thad. So, IBM really is a hybrid facilitator, right? They really facilitate that on-prem cloud, private cloud, public cloud, moving data between different environments. With PowerVS, inherently Power is more secure than any other hardware out there, right? It is inherently more secure than an x86 system. You do a simple chat GPT search, show me the differences, and you'll find a lot of examples. Chipset architecture, how memory is addressed in hardware, memory encryption. Something as simple as that is going to reduce your risk. And then we also do things like with HashiCorp. HashiCorp was a recent acquisition of IBM in partnership with LightEdge. We have deployment templates that we can give you compliance as you are deploying. Because if you think about this, this is where organizations go wrong, is 45% of all attacks happen because we didn't have a policy or we didn't follow the policy. That's human error. That is something that's avoidable. So think if you could reduce your risk of heart attack or of death, or in this example of your company being compromised by 50% simply by practicing good hygiene. So you start with the architecture and infrastructure, and then you use secure deployment to ensure that you're not exposing usernames, you're not exposing passwords, you're not exposing data repositories to the internet. This is how organizations are getting compromised. And you can see this when COVID hit years ago, when the pandemic hit, organizations began putting everything into the cloud. And look, we all need to have data. We need to have our assets in the cloud, but we need to do it in a secure manner. And the way that's accomplished is through posture management, secure hygiene, and making the right choices on the solutions that you start out with. In Power Mainframe, those are two of the most secure systems on the planet. These were initially developed a long time ago, but they're continuing development. It's not like they developed it and stopped. They've continued to add feature after feature, and many of those are based around hardware, encryption, secure architecture. And the reason for that is these are the systems that are running your financials. These are the systems that are running your HR records. These are the systems that are running your EMDR, your medical records. Those three things are typically what's running on Power, and that is your crown jewels. So IBM understands the need to protect those vehemently. That's what you get when you're signing up and keeping your workloads on Power. You're getting a highly performant, highly redundant, highly available, and highly secure infrastructure.
Hey, Chip, so I agree with you totally, but for IBMI, totally is a secure environment, but some people take that for granted, right? And it needs to be secured more. So even though it's running in the cloud, there are also cloud native services that you guys have that are security focused that you can take advantage of much easier than if it was on-prem. So there's those benefits, but it still needs to be done. The posture needs to be there, like you're saying, because just because you're running in IBM cloud or a LightEdge cloud doesn't mean that you're going to have HA and you're going to have DR and you're going to be secure. You still got to take those actions to do that, right? So we see that a lot with IBMI customers specifically. They're running on IBMI, so everything is totally secure and good to go. It's a very secureable system, but actions have to be taken to make it secure. So
Yeah,
we've been stressing
Josh,
that.
that's a great point because all the tooling is there with IBM. All of the product side for security is there with IBM. What is missing is the solution. And that's where the partnership with LightEdge really comes in because LightEdge understands front to back all of these systems. They have the ability to come in, sit alongside you, understand your business use cases, understand your business needs, take those requirements and wrap security, highly available business continuity architecture around the IBM products and deliver a solution to you that is highly available and secure.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here real quick. We have a question from one of our guests. One is that can Power be ran in any other cloud other than IBM's Azure, GCP, AWS? And then why would they choose an MSP to run their workloads? I don't know.
I'll take that, Thad.
Yeah.
So from a IBM Power Systems, yes, there's other providers that have a cloud. Some are connected to GCP. There's a company that is connected to Azure. LightEdge, we're aligned with AWS, GCP, Azure, all of them from a hyperscaler standpoint. And we do the IBM as well, right? So the IBM cloud, and they're all comparable, do things different. It just depends on what's the best fit for what you're trying to accomplish, right? And from the connectivity, the LightEdge cloud is in the east and the west, so we have on ramps to all of the public hyperscalers, which include the low latency to them. From the IBM standpoint, it's very similar as well, where we can create a direct connect to the hyperscaler environments in the east. On the west, is not there today. So again, it makes sense. What makes sense? What's available in the location you're needing? But that's where we're a hybrid, where we can have some running in the LightEdge cloud, some running in an IBM cloud, some running in a customer AWS account, Azure, GCP, whatever it is, right? And that's where the beauty of the hybrid comes in. You don't have all your eggs in one basket. You're spread out across multiple providers, and you're able to be a little bit more resilient, possibly, right? So that's what we're seeing. More customers are doing more providers and not putting every workload in one provider.
Yeah, and to that point, Josh, that's really where I see a huge value for working with an MSP like LightEdge. That's part of why I chose to work with LightEdge is because um, there's so many. It's so easy to just get siloed, right? It's so easy to just focus on, well, this is why I'm one little domain and there's a much larger world out there. You, as Josh described, you got AWS, you've got Azure, you've got your on-prem, you've got private cloud, you've got data center hosting, right? Co-location. LightEdge brings the full picture to your infrastructure. So because of their expertise in all these different domains, they're able to look at your infrastructure holistically, look at your business needs holistically, and not just provide you a secure solution with IBM Power. That's a differentiator, but they're able to provide you a secure solution with Power, with AWS, with Azure. They're able to manage all those elements for you in a secure manner.
Yeah, good point, Chip.
Um, and this is kind of for Josh. I think that we consider ourselves as a trusted advisor for the customer. Not all workloads are the same. We're going to have workloads that may be latency sensitive, some that maybe need to be close to maybe an x86 or an Azure environment. Josh, can you kind of go walk us through, what that process looks like, to be able to look? Because I believe that there's not going to be there's going to be very few customers that are going to say, this is my cloud. I think that most of our customers are going to be very multi-cloud dependent. Kind of walk us through kind of how when you work with a customer, how do we look and how do we advise customers to say where workloads should be?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, Thad. So what we typically look at is their current layout to see what their cloud footprint looks like, right? So if they're a big AWS East customer, they're probably made an investment there, and we're going to stay on the East Coast. And then we look at what we can do for DR, what options we have. Others that are on-prem that haven't made a decision, we go into figure out the requirements. What are they trying to accomplish in the cloud? Like what the x86 connected workloads looks like for the so we understand what we're working with there, and then from an IBM standpoint, what are we trying to accomplish with that, right? So we look at all those things and we make the best determination. Say, okay, this customer needs to move these workloads to the IBM cloud, and if they're going to the IBM cloud, PowerVS aligns directly with it, right? It would go everything would go PowerVS and IBM cloud. Another customer might say, okay, I'm an Azure shop and my x86 is running in Azure, and we're running in the central region out of Des Moines, for example, right? We would say, okay, well, we LightEdge has a cloud in Altoona right outside of Des Moines. We can get ultra low latency connectivity to that environment via Megaport or Direct Connect, Express Route. And now they can move all their x86 to the cloud in Azure, which they already had a footprint in, and we can connect to that with very low latency, and we're successful, right? So there's others that have requirements that need to be in a dedicated private cloud, a VMware cloud, for example, right? So that would go in a LightEdge data center, and where we have IBM clouds, we also have VMware public clouds, multi-tenant clouds, or VMware dedicated private clouds, right? So whatever the requirement is, we try to make it the best fit for the workload that we're putting there, right? So others, they want to get out of the data center business and they want to go all hyperscaler, and we'll figure out which one makes the most sense, what microservices they're trying to use, and just have a conversation with the customer. And then the other big piece of it is like we need to understand RPO, RTO requirements as well while we're designing this, right? So we have to dig into all those details and then put the workload in the data center that makes the most sense. That's what we're going
Yeah,
after.
Yeah.
and to that point that Josh is talking about, people are often concerned about latency, right? You've got mission critical workloads. It's typically talking to other parts of your business. And one of the things that LightEdge has done a really good job about is they have that geolocation adjacent to all the other hyperscalers. So that's a really critical thing because again, latency can kill your product, right? It can kill your application. I mean, I've seen it firsthand. I remember years ago troubleshooting an issue. We couldn't get replication to work, and it turned out what happened is uh, the hop was, clear across town, right? This is not even a hyperscaler issue. It was a hop clear across town. It was causing greater than 2 millisecond latency, and it was causing replication to fail. So that's the beauty of working with LightEdge is they're keenly aware of all these issues because they've helped and worked with so many customers facing these challenges that they've got a ton of expertise in designing your architecture to best fit your business needs. Okay, we got this system here, we got this system here. We need to make sure we've got the right region set up, right? We don't have any latency, and that's a big value add for having that expertise and knowing how to design your architecture accurately.
Yeah.
And Chip, here's one like an example. We could be in PowerVS in one location, like be in PowerVS in one location, and they have workload also going DR to US West in San Jose. PowerVS doesn't have a location in San Jose. LightEdge has an IBM cloud. So now we're replicating from a PowerVS instance to a LightEdge for DR, and you're able to meet both hyperscaler connectivity issues. Now we've got a hybrid play where we're using multiple IBM clouds and we're able to address the customer's latency requirements on the East and West Coast, right? So there's those plays that we can do where, again, it opens up lots of capabilities and possibilities.
Yeah. So to, in short, summarize this, it depends upon dependency of workloads and latency. That's the two important things. But with IBM multi-cloud strategy, I think so that nullifies where the workloads are, as long as we are able to access the workloads with that required latency. Another important thing, what we've seen in IBM Cloud is now IBM PowerVS and IBM VPC, they connected together with an extremely sub-millisecond latency. And that helps for any workloads. For example, if your database is on Power, like DB2 Oracle, and your web servers are on x86, with that within the IBM Cloud, you get a sub-millisecond latency, and that helps from a workload performance. That one thing which is an advantage to going IBM Cloud, because it has got both x86 and Power architecture built within the cloud itself.
Burgess, kind of to expand on this a little bit, as we talk about the architecture, let's kind of jump into and talk about the tooling. And I think that's a significant piece of all of this now with the acquisition of HashiCorp, with OpenStack, tools that we can leverage to migrate customers onto these platforms. Can you speak a little bit to that? Because really, it's not only the technology itself, the underlying infrastructure, but what can we speak to about those tools, the Ansibles, the Migrate Well Actives, the Terraforms that we're now leveraging?
Yeah, great question, Todd. So the IBM has come a long way from a tooling perspective, just not having power systems, but the ecosystem around it, like what just Tad said. So from I would say from 2019, when we first acquired Red Hat, the hybrid cloud strategy was built around Red Hat OpenShift. Okay, so that helps us not only from different clouds, but also from an open source technology. So there were a lot of APIs which we could integrate with other tools. And with the advent, we also acquired, like IBM also acquired HashiCorp, which basically helps us in tooling from Terraform to HashiCorp Vault. So from a security as well as deployment, we get an advantage of it. Now, with the hybrid cloud strategy, Red Hat OpenShift, all the tools which we have built for observability, like IBM Instana, Turbonomics, What's Next for AI, all that are built on OpenShift. So the reason why IBM has taken this approach is because if you see OpenShift, we can run it anywhere, on-prem, in cloud, in any cloud. I would say AWS, GCP, Azure, IBM Cloud, IBM Power Platform, or IBM within the data center private cloud. So that's the reason of the tooling availability, what you have today from IBM, not only just monitoring and security, but it is actually built across clouds, across enterprises.
Yeah, and Burgess, you bring up a good point. Like the acquisition of HashiCorp was no small acquisition. I mean, it was huge, and really, platform engineering is the future. I mean, it is the future of IT. And what's great about LightEdge is they have really adopted and leaned into this, and they can bring that level of expertise to your organization, right? They can help you in managing your hybrid estate. Uh, it's pretty exciting stuff to see because again, the challenge that we all face is do more with less, right? We're all getting pressure on that every day in our jobs, whether you're in technology, whether you're hands-on keyboard leadership, whatever your role is, we're always being asked to do more with less. And the reality is that only comes through very intentional expertise around platform engineering. And that's literally what LightEdge brings as an MSP. They bring that solution aspect to
Yeah,
your environment.
agree with you, Chip. And Thad, you asked like what tooling for the cloud that we've seen. IBM has done a good job of making the tooling available to make it easier to run in PowerVS on IBM I, for example. So in the past, it was harder to do DR or to be able to communicate between the VPC and the PowerVS, right? So they've made enhancements, and they're always making enhancements to the cloud. And like Migrate While Active is a good example where IBM has made a tool called Migrate While Active, which now you can replicate an IBM ILPAR, back it up over the wire essentially into PowerVS and bring up the system in PowerVS without having to take a downtime for an option 21 full system restricted state save, where in the past you had to do that to restore the operating system. Well, now IBM has the tool that you can replicate the OS as long as you're on the right PTFs, right? So there's things like that that are huge. And then from a DR perspective, they're making tooling and making additional possibilities in PowerVS and toolings for on-site that make the job easier and more efficient and from an orchestration standpoint. So it's always improving, which is great to see.
Yeah, and we have a question here. It says Red Hat and OpenShift are obviously a big part of the IBM story now for organizations that aren't deep into the ecosystem yet. How does that fit in the conversation? I think about this. So first of all, know that LightEdge is a one of the VMware cloud providers, like one of the 14 across the US. So if you're in VMware, there's no need to even consider the OpenShift conversation. But the reality is that, look, there's a lot of different entry points into the IBM ecosystem. IBM has done a good job of keeping Red Hat as a separate entity. You see kind of that similar with HashiCorp that in many ways very much independent running. So what we focus on at IBM, the first thing is all software that we bring to market, right? We've got our mainframe, we've got power. Those are like the two staples of our organization from a hardware perspective. But then if you look at all the software, all the acquisitions that we brought in, these are really companies that are based on open source, open standards, and open ecosystems. In fact, many times we have to make them work with power and mainframe after we purchase the company. Why that's important is because the ecosystem is designed to be open. So if you're running IBM Power, you can absolutely run Red Hat on IBM Power. You can absolutely run OpenShift on IBM Power, but it's not necessary that you do that. So IBM has designed our approach to the market as we understand that you're never going to be 100% IBM top to bottom. So we want to integrate with the solutions that you use. So if you're using Red Hat, if you're using SUSE, if you're using Linux One, if you're using Microsoft Windows, we're going to work with you and integrate. And that's the key thing to remember is that the approach that IBM takes is really around this integration. And nothing is better proof of that than the partnership with LightEdge, where LightEdge is managing AWS infrastructure. They're managing Azure infrastructure, but they're able to use tools like HashiCorp in order to make those deployments more seamless, more streamlined, and more secure. And so the thing I would tell every organization, like IBM just acquired Confluent, right, which was designed by the folks who built Apache Kafka. If you're a Confluent user, you can now step into other areas of the IBM ecosystem, but you certainly don't have to. IBM has designed our approach to the market to not be a proprietary lock-in. What we try to do is make products that are really great, partner with solution providers like LightEdge, and bring those to market in a way that helps you run your business. And honestly, that's the best thing about LightEdge. And many times when I've talked with organizations that have power, when I talk to the leaders, their power is not top of their mind. They're thinking, well, I've got this hybrid strategy. We've got this power box and we think it's running our financials, but there's one person running it and they're probably going to retire next year. When you can hand that off to LightEdge, and now all of a sudden you've got the peace of mind that your business is running high availability, high continuity, high security, and you don't have to focus on it. You can just concentrate on what your business does, which is making money. It is a very beautiful thing.
And I think to add on to what Chip has said is that the power platforms are critical to our business. But it's very important that we look at those critical power systems in ways that we may have not looked at before. So using and leveraging tools like PowerVC, observability and manage capabilities that are built on OpenStack. So those are critical for us to bring to market and for us to be, which we believe that allows us to be forward thinking.
No, that's awesome, Thad. And there's another question in here about DB2 mirror and microactive restrictions on ASP size. And so what I'll say about that for DB2 mirror, I don't know of a restriction on size if you're talking truly DB2 mirror clustering. We have DB2 mirror clustering set up today on pretty big LPARs, and we don't have any issue from a size perspective. For microactive, that's a little bit different. So microactive is from a customer on-prem replicating or saving to either the LightEdge cloud or the IBM PowerVS cloud. And usually that's under 5 TB, I would say, and it does depend on the internet bandwidth size from the customer's location. It could be longer, it could be slower, but we haven't seen any degradation to date that if it's a bigger LPAR, it just takes longer to get here. But there's no performance hit that we've seen. So the microactive definitely does depend on internet size, on how quick it can happen. And it works very well or better for the smaller partitions, but I haven't seen like a bigger partition that you don't want to do it on. But we have other ways to migrate the larger partitions, like seed it with a virtual tape and then use mimics to do the migration. So we again don't use one tool for everything, but we use what's the best tool for the fit that we're trying to what we're trying to accomplish. So hopefully that answers that question. Perfect.
As our focus is IBM Power, we have a lot of customers that have a lot of operational needs. If someone can speak to kind of what IBM's vision is on AI operations, how are they streamlining, and how we kind of leverage those tools going forward to help our customers kind of automate and manage their existing job streams.
Sure, I can start first. So probably, Tad, when you said AI strategy and all that on IBM Power, the main building block is OpenShift on Power, where we can definitely build bot snacks on top of it and other AI tools. Now, just stepping back a little bit is IBM not only is concentrating on software tools and all that, but at the same time, as I said earlier, it's trying to accelerate its hardware capabilities to be cloud native as well as AI ready, and even content safe for that matter. So from Power 10, when we had this MMA chip, which helps for AI inferencing, with Power 11 Invent, we have MMA and Aspire. Spire is another AI accelerator, which basically the technology is brought in from the mainframe. And this can not only do inferencing, but it can also talk and train large language models. So those are the capabilities, right? Not only from the tooling side, but right from bottom top approach, right from the hardware, where you can take the capabilities of the AI from the hardware itself and propagate right up till the top layer where your application demands that AI. So that's something very important, which we need to understand how we can get the AI strategy right on IBM Cloud, IBM PowerVS Cloud. Or even the same thing can, as I said earlier, OpenShift can run anywhere. So it could be in your data center itself. And we as an MSP can definitely help you build your journey towards that. And what are the AI use cases you would like to discuss? We can definitely discuss, get deep and discuss on the same.
To kind of shift maybe back into how we might interact with customers. Chip, we've worked with IBM closely. Not only are we working with our existing customer base, new customers who we are actively working with, but kind of walk everyone through kind of that interaction with the tile. and how that kind of that benefits not the customer and how they might leverage that through the IBM cloud.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So LightEdge has recently launched a tile on the IBM ca Cloud Catalog. So if you think about Azure, AWS, there's little tiles that you can, launch different services. Same exact thing with the IBM Cloud. For PowerVS, LightEdge has a tile that allows you as a customer of IBM to contract directly through IBM, but you get all the benefit of working with LightEdge. So it's a great thing if you've got an ELA, or for those that are familiar with the IBM ecosystem, you've got existing contracts with IBM. It's a great way for you to leverage and harness the power of LightEdge as a solution provider without having to do a bunch of additional contracting, right? So it's really a great thing, and I'm very excited about it. We're very excited at IBM about all the things that LightEdge is bringing. This marks a milestone in the partnership because, again, LightEdge developed a cloud solution for power before IBM ever had something, right? I mean, that's how forward thinking this team was. In fact, I don't want to make him blush, but it was Josh who was the main guy who did all that stuff. So we're really excited about all the value that this brings to you as a client. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to transact. And the beauty of this is that you now are getting the benefit of Power VS as a modernized power application, hyperscaler connectivity, hyperport connectivity. You're getting all of the benefits of, DR, and you're paying for run rate versus a capital expenditure. There's a tremendous number of things that bring value to you as an organization. And again, it's just another thing to showcase how LightEdge is really forward leaning, forward thinking, and bringing solutions to market.
Yeah, and that's what it is, Chip. It's a full solution, right? Because the IBM Power VS is giving customers a piece of the puzzle, right? They're
Right.
providing them the compute, memory, storage, networking, but there's still people that have to manage the infrastructure, the OS, the day-to-day management of the LPAR, right? So that's where LightEdge plays, because a lot of times a customer may go to Power BI or another cloud and they're overwhelmed, or they say, whoa, this is a lot more than I thought it was going to be, because there still is all the care and feeding that has to be done, because you still have to do those things, and you still have to do HA, you still have to do security, you still have to do DR. Those all have to be taken into account, and you can't just think
Yeah.
that they're inherently going to be done because you're moving to the cloud.
That's right. And finding the expertise to do it, like I talk about this a lot, that there's people who understand power, there's people who understand automation, and there's people who understand like the cloud. And a lot of times the cross-pollination between those three groups is not there. And that's one of the beautiful things that LightEdge brings to the table. Perfect case in point. IBM hires the best of the best. It took LightEdge, what, 6 months? LightEdge does as well. It took LightEdge 6 months to find Burgess, right? Like they were on a manhunt for 6 months trying to bring him, trying to find the right guy to bring him over, right? So why is that important? Is because these skill sets do require a lot of expertise. People are hard to find, and so partnering with somebody like LightEdge gives you instant access to those experts.
We have a question here. How will LightEdge support be for LightEdge and ultimately the client if LightEdge is the front door? Will we want to make sure that escalation process isn't
Oh,
extended?
yeah.
Uh, so,
Sorry, go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
perfect question. I'll be happy to answer that one. So So the beautiful thing about IBM working with an MSP is the MSP is the first point of contact. You've got that relationship with them. You're talking to them all the time. And then they're able to navigate our internal support processes very well and very efficiently. The beautiful thing is we work hand in hand with them. I would say 99% of the time, support processes between IBM, LightEdge, and the customer work flawlessly. There's always the 1%, right? And in those cases, Josh calls me up and we get everything fixed and resolved in a very timely fashion. So, the reality is the IBM support process is pretty well established. It's pretty well defined. And we work very closely with LightEdge. They have premium support. They're able to get in and get access to folks in product management. And many times that's happened, right? LightEdge has approached me, said, "Hey, we've got a customer. We're working with product management. There's a bug in the code," right? We all know bugs happen, right? It's nothing surprising. If you're in IT, you should know bugs happen, right? But LightEdge bringing that forward, we work with the product management, we get a fix out, we get it rolled out. So actually, I would argue you get a little bit of white glove service working with LightEdge. IBM again has very defined, strategic, very efficient processes for support, but you get that human interaction, that white glove touch with LightEdge, and to me, it's a beautiful thing. And I think they would agree and their customers would agree that it's been a very positive experience working with LightEdge and IBM together. There's
Chip,
yeah.
and I would also say we have the premier support for like PowerVS, right? So we're getting the fast access to support. Like it's not just via email, so we can call into real tickets. We have a team assigned to us from a LightEdge perspective, from cloud, power, storage, that we interact with on a daily basis, right? So the LightEdge IBM relationship is very strong, and like Chip said, we'll follow the normal process. But if we have a problem, certainly we're able to go around that problem and have someone escalate it if need be.
Well, I know we're running up on time. If there's any other questions, please feel free to reach out. This has been a great interaction today. Again, we want to continue to work with all of you. And again, if there's questions we can answer, please feel free to reach out to us. We'd be more than happy to engage.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Ned.
Thanks, Tom.
We appreciate it. Thank you.